One evening, Thomas brought his last train to the junction. Percy was glad to see him. Are you on your way to the big station, Thomas? Yes, I am. Why? Because I'm going there too. I think something's up. Toby looked up at the sky. Where? Not up here, down here, laughed Thomas. How could something be up when it's down? Thomas was way too excited to listen. Oh, bust my buffers. Look over there. Mavis. Boko. Bill. Ben. Donald, Oliver, and Douglas serrated past. Good evening, you three, whistled Donald. Aren't we all a fine sight? Very splendid indeed, smiled Toby. Sorry we can't stop. Sir Topham Hatt wants us all together at the station. What is this about? Asked Thomas. Sir Topham Hatt has a plan. What is this about? Asked Thomas. Sir Topham Hatt has a plan, said his engineer. Come on. So they followed all the other engines all the way to the big station at the end of the line. The engines were whistling. The engine started whistling. Silence, said Sir Topham Hatt. I have an important letter to read from a little girl who is 5 years old. Dear Thomas and all the engines, please may I meet you? My friends say they like to meet you too. You can come to my house for tea, but my mother says there aren't any railway tracks to my house. Could you come to the station instead? Thank you very much. It seems, said Sir It seems, said Sir Topham Hatt, that there are many girls and boys who'd like to meet you. Well, we're all going to the big city far away. Hooray! Hooray! The engines whistled. Silence! All the other engines will be working here while you are away. So please show them what to do. As Annie and Clarabelle were going to the big city too, Thomas and Oliver practiced with with some other coaches. Thomas grew more and more excited. Too excited for his own good. I'm glad I'm a splendid engine, he thought. The Tom Hat says I'm really useful. I had a race with Birdie once. I whooshed through the tunnels and stopped an inch from my buffers. Dead, Thomas made his mistake. Just like this. He boasted. Crash. No one was hurt, but Thomas's front was badly bent. They telephoned to Sir Topham Hatt. I'll send out the workmen, he said, but if they can't mend Thomas in time, we'll have to go to the big city without him. Poor Thomas. Eight o'clock next morning, the engines waited at the junction. Toby and Percy were each on a truck, and Duck had pushed them into place behind Edward. Gordon, James, and Henry were waiting to lead off. They whistled impatiently. Sir Topham Hatt looked at his watch. I'll wait one more moment for Thomas, then we have to go. At last Thomas came. Oh, thank goodness they're still here, panted Thomas. I hope we're not late if it is just after 8. The conductor blew his whistle and waved his flag. The engines cheered. Look out, big city. Here we come. Then the cavalcade puffed away. Later, in the big city, all the engines were lined up in a splendid shed. Children were delighted to meet their friends. I'm glad that little girl wrote to us, whispered Thomas to Percy. Isn't it wonderful what happiness a letter can bring?